You're listening to Experience Imagination, a themed entertainment design podcast presented by Falcon's Creative Group. Every episode, we discuss a new topic with a panel of creative professionals. Hi, I'm Cecil McPurry, President and Chief Creative Officer of Falcons.
Welcome to another episode of Experience Imagination. I'm your moderator, Audrey DeLong. Today we're going to be talking about the Visual Effects Society, otherwise known as VES, a nonprofit professional honorary society dedicated to advancing the arts, sciences, and applications of visual effects and to improving the welfare of its members by providing professional enrichment and education, fostering community, and promoting industry recognition. It was formed in 1997 and has blossomed into a diverse group of more than 4,000 members from over 40 countries. To help us better understand and appreciate everything the Visual Effects Society does for its members, we have a very special guest joining us in a little bit, Tim Mcgovern. Tim is an Academy Award-winning visual effects supervisor and creative director who has had a lengthy and impressive career in the industry. He's worked on films such as Total Recall, Tron, Ant-Man and Wasp, Dunkirk, First Man, and Jungle Cruise. He's a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. He's been an elected member of VES's Board of Directors 16 of the last 20 years. He's a founding co-chair of the VES Awards Committee and served for 6 years, and he's a founding co-chair of the VES Committee for Outreach to Developing Regions, serving 11 years on that one. A few of our Falcons are VES members. I'll be speaking with two of them a bit later, Claudio Gonzalez and Jason Embery. Then we have the newest Falcons member of VES, Anthony Solitario, along with VES veterans, Saham Ali, Cecil McPurry, and Jason Ambler. Speaking of Jason, we wanted to bring him in to help us tee up this fantastic topic. Hey, Jason.
Hi, Audrey.
So Falcons has been recognized by the VES a couple times. Turtle Truck was nominated, and we won for Dragon's Treasure. Tell us about those.
Yeah, that's right. And those are tremendous honors. I mean, this is, honoring visual effects on the world stage, from the biggest and greatest movies and special venue projects to VR and AR and emerging technologies projects and commercial projects. This is really one of the highest honors you can get in visual effects. And that's why we're so honored to have been nominated and to have won VES awards. Visual effects happens to be one of the few disciplines in filmmaking that does not have a union. And in a lot of ways, the VES kind of helps with some of those collective decisions and course corrections as an industry that can be made.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us and helping us set it all up.
Absolutely.
All right. It is time to bring in our first guest, Tim Mcgovern. Thanks for being on the show.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Now, you began your career when digital visual effects were still in their embryonic stage. So tell us about your experience as someone who was on the ground floor of this hugely important shift.
Well, in the beginning, there was only so many things we could do that could get used in a motion picture. Most of the time we did commercials and videos for all kinds of things, and those were fine. But when you have to fit into a live action film where everything looks photoreal, in the beginning, we hadn't solved all the issues that made our imagery look real. So actually, people would use us to primarily do stuff that was supposed to look like it was generated by a computer. Or in the case of Total Recall, it had to look like an X-ray device. And one of the earliest things was, in fact, reflecting, having a CG chrome thing reflect what's actually in the shot. And that's what was done for Last Starfighter. And then, of course, that was a big part of T2. Mm-hmm. And then doing something that looked like water. Then finally, nowadays we can do anything. We can replace any part and do reality. But there have been big watershed moments where suddenly, okay, now we can do water. But to do water on a big scale for a movie about ships and, battles at sea and all that stuff, that took until like Waterworld and Titanic for our CG water to look good enough. So it was interesting. It was me being at the right place at the right time because I got to follow it as it grew and got to do things as they were demanded for film. Back then, you could only manage as much as you could manage. You didn't have the software helping you do that.
Yeah, a lot has changed. I mean, it's really been incredible, especially in the past few years. But let's switch over to talk about VES a little bit and tell us about your history with the Visual Effects Society.
Well, in LA in 1992, when we started Sony Pictures ImageWorks, I was SVP of Creative and Technical. Everybody from that period and before looked at the other companies as their enemy. There was no VES, so we called a meeting at Sony, and we all sat around the table. We had ILM there, we had Boss Film. So, there should be something that we would do. We should figure something out together a little bit more. But the guy who I had organized the meeting for us, his name was Tom Atkin. And he transitioned out of Sony, and he decided to start it up. So he became the executive director. And the whole point was to do what I call the United Nations effect on the industry, and that everybody in a particular city or market needs to know that we are more like each other than anybody else. We know each other's problems because we have the same ones. And so if we can work together in an honorary society and get to know each other and actually have to accomplish things together, that kind of unites people in a different way than they would have been otherwise. And so the VES really grew into the best unifying organization.
Yeah, this is a nice segue into talking about some of the benefits that VES offers to its members. What, in your opinion, what are some of the most important things that VES does to support its memberships?
There's quite a few things. The in-person stuff was fantastic while we could do it, and we're hopefully going to be starting that stuff again, is getting people to talk to each other in person and meet each other in person. That was really where we got people together, and we would hold at least a monthly event. And all of the sections, when they started to come on, started pub nights and social nights and networking nights, and that would get everybody together. We also would do screenings. The studios, because of the size of the group and because of our influence in voting for at least the VES awards, as well as many of us, like myself, are members of the Academy as well. So they want to make sure that we're able to see their material and make sure it's being considered so that we're not ignorant of their material. So we are able to organize screenings. So that could be as often as once a month in many of our sections. You have to be a section to be able to have screenings. So screenings was a big deal. One of the other benefits of membership is having the Rolodex of everybody in 40 countries around the world. There is a way to get in touch with people, and we can organize people reaching out. Other things, we are the originators of the VES Handbook of Visual Effects. It's in its third edition. It's written by over 100 experts in the field. Anybody who writes on a subject is an expert on that. We also have amazing resources online of every award show we ever had, every nominated piece in any of the categories, and you can view their submission reel, which shows the before and afters. We have all that, plus we record a lot of the Q&As that happen when a movie, say it's a Marvel movie, and it's being screened, and then 4 of the people who worked on it will talk about how they did it. VES is also about education as well as honoring the artists who do the work.
Well, let's talk about the VES Awards. The 20th Annual VES Awards Gala is next March. So on January 17th, we're going to hear those nominees' names. And so this is the only celebration that recognizes outstanding visual effects artistry and innovation worldwide in film, animation, television, commercials, video games, and special venues. So in other words, the best visual effects storytellers are celebrated at this event every year. And I know, Tim, you were a founding co-chair of the VES Awards Committee. So tell us about that inception.
Well, we thought that we wanted to give awards. That was one of the concepts at the initiation of the VES in general. And then some of the longtime veterans of the field and members of the VES said, you should really become something before you start giving out awards from it. So we didn't start year one. We gave it about, I think 2001 was our first awards. So that was like 4 years. And we had grown to a decent size by then. And we thought it was time. And we had to come up with what the award would look like. And one of our members, Stuart Robertson, liked the George Melius, the man on the moon with the rocket ship that hits him in the eye. That's like one of the first ever visual effects. And that we decided needed to be the image, but we came up with a design for a statue. And the thing about many people in the VES, I'm an Academy Award winner, and there's many others in the society. And one of the things that I always was impressed with was when you get your Oscar, it's like it's heavy. So we wanted to make sure we made it, that it wasn't just some plastic statue that everybody gets, after they won a basketball game or something. It wasn't just a trophy. Our awards honor not only the 4 top people who are responsible for the key creative steering of the whole project, but there's another whole level where the artist who actually does the shot, who animated the character, who created the environment, who animated the digital camera, those people are honored directly and can win the award. Like in an Academy Award, there's one award for all visual effects, and it's usually the biggest and most groundbreaking. In the VES, we have it for all the categories besides movies, television, games, AR, VR, commercials, and all that. So that is a much broader scope. There would have to be Academy for each of those things if they were going to honor it in a similar way to the Academy. And the other thing we do is we honor the visual effects producer. Visual effects producers cannot get Oscars. They are not considered the talent, technical and creative, that created the shot, although you cannot mount any of these productions without an amazing production team. And the visual effects producer for the show is both logistic and financial. In a lot of cases, are steering how the thing gets done financially and on time. So we make sure we honor that person in the VES Awards as well. Then we give a student award on top of that.
Oh, nice. That's special, yeah.
Because we want to keep those people encouraged and excited. And honestly, when people used to first get in the field, they didn't have much of a reel. I used to say the way I got in is they let you jump in at the deep end, and if you could swim, you could stay, and if you couldn't swim, you're out. If you could figure out the software, because there were no manuals and everybody had it different. We all used different computers, and we all used different software that was written by our people, because you couldn't buy anything at first.
Right.
But now people go to school and have amazing films that they do while they're in university or in a program. So it used to be you were lucky if you could get an animated sample of some sort. And now people are coming out with masterfully done work. So it's the level of schools and students is really high, and the people who win this award are amazing, and they have a very bright future in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to talk about some of the future plans for VES. Do you know of any initiatives that are going to be promoted or being rolled out in the near future?
There is an amazing new benefit, which is the ability to talk to a lawyer if you need one and get an opinion about something. There's also the ability to get therapy if you are feeling the need.
It's a great one.
It's set up to be worldwide. People need it, especially during lockdown and, anytime anyway. People get burnt out. They can have domestic issues going on in their life because of the way we work. And, it's great to have that provided as a support system to our members.
Have you seen burnout in the industry yourself a lot?
I have. I have to say that our industry is hard in that way. And, the wonderful thing is it brings brilliance out of people under pressure, and with solving new problems, people come up with stuff. It's amazing how this industry has gone. The brilliant people that are involved and the things they've created is amazing. And so it's a pressure cooker of a sort. And the world is a little bit of a nicer place about this stuff now than it used to be. I mean, people are much more aware and trying to be careful about that. I think there's more recognition of balance in family life. But certainly in the beginning, we were all madmen.
Yep, that's a good way to put it, yeah. Well, Tim, it was a real treat getting to speak with you. Thank you so much for doing it.
Oh, you're so welcome. I enjoyed it. And I'm always happy to talk about the VES.
I'm happy to welcome Claudio Gonzalez and Jason Embery, 2 of our own VES members. Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Audrey. Great to be here.
All right. Jason is our real-time supervisor at Falcons. This is his first time on Experience Imagination, so it's great to have you on. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this profession.
So I came from the video game industry. I spent about 5 years as a cinematic director, and I transitioned into teaching at the Dave School, Digital Animation and Visual Effects School here in Orlando. I did that for about 3 years before I started here at Falcons.
Excellent. And Claudio is our CG supervisor at Falcons Digital Media. It's been a while since you've been on. What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a fairly busy year for us despite the global pandemic and all the effects it's had across the industry. But we actually just wrapped up work on our YouTube animated series, The Enchantimals, as well as Storybots. It's a Netflix show.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we all watched it here. It was a good time. Before we get into the VES itself, I want to get both of your takes on the advancements that have been made in the visual effects industry over the last 10 years or so. Claudio, we'll start with you.
Sure. I mean, the nature of our industry kind of lends itself to a lot of advancements, over the last 10 years. I've seen a great increase in the quality of new talent going into the industry with the applicants that we've had. I can tell that schools have really stepped up their game. There's a lot of free content available to people via YouTube or ArtStation or other online resources that people have to learn at home. Also, software has become a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Also, just that same technological advancements, we've been able to leverage that in the studio. GPU rendering is a thing that really started to take off roughly 7 years ago or so with Redshift releasing for baked content. Just seeing what Unreal's been able to do, Unity's been able to do. Virtual production is kind of a hot topic now. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are, all about it, especially since The Mandalorian. But the idea of being able to do it in real time and actually have a digital camera that you can move around on a live set really starts to blend between the two, where before you had to kind of wait to get to a post process. Now you can kind of utilize that digital element and capture that in real time with a live actor in front of you. It's really started to push the quality bar, especially to a more affordable budget. Mm-hmm. The quality in general over the last 10 years has really spiked up. So it's a fun job to be in right now.
Yeah, you mentioned The Mandalorian, that has been nominated for a few VES awards, which we're going to get into a little bit later. Jason, let's get your take on the advancements and especially real-time technology.
Yeah, so I've been a big proponent of real-time technology for the last 8-9 years, really, ever since I got into the gaming industry. And I really started to see this convergence of VFX and gaming technology starting around 2015-16. And I actually started touring and doing presentations at different universities in 2017, talking about the convergence of those two industries and how that happens. And technology has really accelerated that process over the last probably 3 years. And everything is blurring the lines between what actually is real-time technology and what isn't. So virtual production really is production now. The pandemic was really, in spite of how hard it was, a lot of innovation came out of that because people were forced to find new ways to do things. Especially the remote workforce has really taken over the way and changed the way that we've approached VFX and gaming technology as well.
I want to get into VES now. So Claudio, how did you first learn about VES, and was it a no-brainer for you to join?
My first job at Digital Domain, I was fortunate enough to work with some pretty senior talent coming over from ILM, and those guys had been in the VES for quite some time, and I could see that there was a camaraderie between them. But yeah, that was the first time I was exposed to it. It kind of piqued my interest, and after a few years, when I was able to get around to applying, just reached out to those same guys, and I got my recommendation letters from them.
Yeah, we're going to get into the criteria for getting into VES in a little bit. But Jason, now how long have you been a member of VES, and why did you decide to join?
So I've been a member of VES for a little over 2.5 years now. I have some really good friends in the VFX industry that were already members of VES, and they sort of recruited me to join and try to help grow our local chapter here in Orlando and get that established. And that was when I first moved down here in 2018. It was a great way to grow my professional network, and it's one of the contributing factors that brought me to Falcons, actually.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that criteria. Jason, what does it take to get into VES? I know it's a pretty exclusive club. Do you have to have a certain level of experience?
There are a couple major criteria for getting into the Visual Effects Society. Firstly, you have to have over 5 years industry experience working in the field in accredited projects. The second would be you have to have those 2 personal recommendation letters from existing members of the VES. These criteria really help to make the organization stronger as a whole by making sure that VES members have the experience and knowledge of seasoned professionals.
Yeah, a lot of educational opportunities. Claudio, what are some that you have personally taken advantage of?
We did host a VES meetup in Orlando, and we're trying to get a chapter established here for the state. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big one that we're all collectively, at least the members that are in Orlando, trying to accomplish to get a chapter established. But not just for the VES, just as a member of the VES, I also try and give back to different schools. So I stay in touch with a lot of different schools in the area, because Orlando does have quite a few.
Yeah.
And just attend, portfolio reviews, try and give feedback to the schools and the curriculums, and speak to the teachers, attend job fairs and things of that nature, just so that, as a member of the VES, I'm being a good representative.
Yep. Hey, Jason, so educational opportunities that you've taken advantage of, what's one or two you can talk about?
I've participated in a lot of the virtual webinars and lecture series that the VES offers over the last couple of years to learn about a variety of topics from industry legends, really. And anytime you can learn from some of the absolute best people in your profession, it really helps you grow as an artist and an individual yourself. And a lot of the times you hear that everybody has the exact same problems that you're having. Like we're just trying to figure these things out as we go. And we're just applying problem-solving skills, really, on a daily basis to make things work. So it's refreshing to get that from people that maybe you've idolized or looked up to your whole career, to know that they've been through that as well.
Yeah, seriously good networking, it sounds like, in the VES as well. So the VES Awards have gained prestige over the years. In your opinion, what have been the biggest contributing factors? Jason?
For me, I think one of the reasons the VES Awards have become so coveted is because they're voted on by industry peers. Peer recognition in this industry means a lot to all of us. When you know that the people voting on your category or your project are people that understand the hard work and discipline and effort involved in the creation of all different forms of media, it takes a long time to get to where we are as artists. And so having other people recognize your contributions is incredibly rewarding in itself.
For sure. So, Claudio, if someone listening to this podcast is on the fence about joining VES, what would you tell them?
Try it out for a year. It doesn't hurt. See if you like it, and you're not, tied to any contract where you have to renew every year. They do give you a discount if you do renew within a certain window. But if you have a little bit of money set aside, just try it out for a year.
I know one thing that members really love is the free yearly subscription to Netflix. That's a nice savings. And you know what? Also, as a member, you receive a printed and digital edition of VFX Voice, the magazine of the VES, and that is published quarterly. Jason, what would you say to people on the fence?
If you have a genuine love for what you're doing and you're willing to share that knowledge and enthusiasm with others and with the younger generation, then the VES is a great organization to become a part of, because all of those things are very much in line with their values and their mission statement.
Most definitely. All right, well, Claudio and Jason, this has been a really fascinating conversation and very enlightening. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
For more information about the VES and how to become a member, visit visualeffectssociety.com/membership-application. All right, we are back at the table, and Jason Ambler is with me again. Jason, what did you think of this? First of all, with Tim.
Wow. Yeah, it really is incredible to hear Tim's story. Obviously, he's had some amazing experience and incredible time in the industry. I'm sure we could do 3 more podcasts just with Tim alone.
Oh, definitely. He's got some great stories.
And then, of course, it's great to hear from our team and all that they get out of the VES, and it keeps us striving to do more and to create a larger community around Florida. So for those of you that are listening, you don't have to be from Florida. You can be anywhere in the world. You may already have a section in your neighborhood. But yeah, it's definitely a great organization to be a part of, and I can't speak highly enough of it.
Wonderful. All right, well, that wraps up our VES episode. Thank you again to our guests, Tim Mcgovern, Claudio Gonzalez, and Jason Embery. And thank you to all of our listeners. We appreciate you. We hope you will be with us next time.
Thank you for listening to Experience Imagination, a Falcons Creative Group production. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends. To keep up with our latest news, visit us on the web at falconscreativegroup.com and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes, please email us at podcast@falconscreativegroup.com.